Breaking tonight, reaction from Papillion-La Vista Community Schools to a lawsuit filed by the mother of Ryan Larsen.
The boy was just 11 years old when he went missing from La Vista West Elementary School. And Wednesday marks 2 years since his disappearance. 6 News' Brett Weber has the latest.
Ryan Larsen hadn't yet celebrated his 12th birthday when police tell us he left La Vista West Elementary School on May 17, 2021. He's been missing since. The circumstances surrounding how and when he left school are at the center of a lawsuit filed Monday on behalf of his mother, Tammy Larsen, against Papillion-La Vista Community Schools, and 3 as yet unnamed individuals cited as Jane Doe's 1, 2, and 3.
The courts are going to decide. The courts are going to decide what happens and what the next steps are, and we're going to continue to do what we need to do to make sure that we're supporting Ryan's family and our students and staff.
We hold out hope.
La Vista Police Chief Bob Lawson's words 2 weeks after Ryan's disappearance underscored exhaustive efforts by local, state, and federal law enforcement, as well as community efforts to find Ryan. According to the lawsuit, he'd been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and Tourette's disorder in the 2nd grade. On April 27th, a petition to declare him legally dead failed in Sarpy County Court. At the time, the attorney for the family told reporters they intended to sue in federal court, using remedies to hold the district accountable. The lawsuit claims the school staff made no immediate attempts to stop Ryan from leaving or to track him down once he left school that day, despite knowing Ryan had to be supervised. The suit also alleges Ryan ran away from school 3 other times in 21. Claiming that the district, despite knowing of Ryan's disabilities, was negligent, specifically citing Jane Doe's 1, 2, and 3 for failure to prudently supervise Ryan when he left school May 17th. The suit seeks an unspecified amount of money for the general and special damages that she, Mother Tammy Larsen, and Ryan have and will continue to sustain.
We have talked with Ryan's mother several times since this occurred. We try to keep those lines of communication open as much as we can. I can't imagine losing a child. I can't imagine losing a child in this situation. So trying to understand what the family is going through is an impossible task. And our hearts go out to Ryan's family every single day.
On your side in La Vista, Brett Weber, 6 News.
Brett reached out to the attorneys for Tammy Larsen. He did not hear back from them.